The story of Sinuhe is considered one of the finest works of ancient Egyptian literature. It is a narrative set in the aftermath of the death of Pharaoh Amenemhat I, founder of the 12th dynasty of Egypt, in the early 20th century BC. It is likely that it was composed only shortly after this date, albeit the earliest extant manuscript is from the reign of Amenemhat III, 1800 BC. There is an ongoing debate among Egyptologists as to whether or not the tale is based on actual events involving an individual named Sinuhe, with the consensus being that it is most likely a work of fiction, due to the universal nature of the themes explored in Sinuhe, including divine providence and mercy. Its anonymous author has been described as the Egyptian Shakespeare, whose ideas have parallels in biblical texts. Sinuhe is considered to be a work written in verse, and it may also have been performed. The great popularity of the work is witnessed by the numerous surviving fragments. Synopsis: Sinuhe is an official who accompanies Prince Senwosri I to Libya. He overhears a conversation connected with the death of King Amenemhat I and as a result flees to Upper Reach-Inu, leaving Egypt behind. He becomes the son-in-law of Chief Amenenshi, and in time his sons grow to become chiefs in their own right. Sinuhe fights rebellious tribes on behalf of Amenenshi. As an old man, in the aftermath of defeating a powerful opponent in single combat, he prays for a return to his homeland. May God pity me, may he hearken to the prayer of one far away, may the king have mercy on me, may I be conducted to the city of eternity. He then receives an invitation from King Senwosri I of Egypt to return, which he accepts in highly moving terms. Living out the rest of his life in royal favor, he is finally laid to rest in the necropolis in a beautiful tomb. Interpretations: the story of Sinuhe has spawned a great deal of literature, which explores the themes contained in the work from many perspectives. The scope and variety of this material has been likened to the analysis of Hamlet and other notable works of literature. Scholars debate the reason why Sinuhe flees Egypt, with the majority seeing a panic response to a perceived fear. The tale is full of symbolic allusions. Sinuhe's name is seen as providing an important link in understanding the story. The sycamore is an ancient Egyptian tree of life, associated with Hathor, who features throughout the work. Sinuhe comes under the protective orbit of divine powers, in the form of the king, from whom he first tries to run away, and that of the queen, a manifestation of Hathor. On fleeing Egypt, Sinuhe crosses a waterway associated with the goddess Ma'at, the ancient Egyptian principle of truth, order and justice. In the vicinity of a sycamore tree, the ancient Egyptians believed in free will, implicit in the code of Ma'at, but this still allowed divine grace to work in and through the individual, and an overarching divine providence is seen in Sinuhe's flight and return to his homeland. Unable to escape the orbit of God's power and mercy, Sinuhe exclaims, "Whether I am in the residence, or whether I am in this place, it is you who cover this horizon." Parallels have been made with the biblical narrative of Joseph. In what is seen as divine providence, the Syro-Canaanite Joseph is taken to Egypt, where he becomes part of the ruling elite, acquires a wife and family, before being reunited with his Syro-Canaanite family. In what is seen as divine providence, Sinuhe the Egyptian flees to Syro-Canaan and becomes a member of the ruling elite, acquires a wife and family, before being reunited with his Egyptian family. Parallels have also been drawn with other biblical texts. Sinuhe's frustrated flight from the orbit of God's power is likened to the Hebrew prophet Jonah's similar attempt. His fight with the mighty challenger, whom he slays with a single blow, is compared to the battle between David and Goliath, and his return home likened to the parable of the prodigal son. Influences on modern culture. Naguib Mahfouz, the Nobel Prize-winning Egyptian writer, published in 1941 a story entitled Audate Sinuhe, translated by Raymond Stock in 2003 as The Return of Sinuhe, in the collection of Mahfouz's short stories entitled Voices from the Other World. The story is based directly on the story of Sinuhe, although adding details of a lover's triangle romance that does not appear in the original. The story also formed part of the inspiration for the 1945 novel by Mika Walteri, and the 1954 Hollywood film epic, both titled The Egyptian, which, although set during the reign of 18th dynasty pharaoh Akhenaten, features a lead character named Sinuhe who flees Egypt in disgrace to return after achieving material success and personal redemption in foreign lands. Elizabeth Peters made reference to the tale in her novel The Falcon at the Portal. Cuban songwriter and singer Silvio Rodriguez composed a song titled Sinuhe included in his album A Date with the Angels. The lyrics use the figure of Sinuhe as a metaphor of the past intellectual greatness of the Middle East and portrays a contrast with the contemporary conflicts and wars in the region. Literature. Barter. 2003. Sinuhe, The Bible and the Patriarchs, Czech Institute of Egyptology, David Brown Book Company. Grieg. S. 1990. The SDM equals F and SDM equals N equals F in the story of Sinuhe and the theory of the nominal verbs, in Israelite Grohl. Studies in Egyptology. Presented to Miriam Lichtheim, Volume I, Jerusalem. Magnus Press, Hebrew U, 264-348. Kitchen. A. 1996. Sinuhe. Scholarly Method versus Trendy Fashion, BACE 7, 55-63. Mahfouz, Naguib. The Return of Sinuhe, in Voices from the Other World, Random House, 2003. Meltzer, S. 2004. Sinuhe, Jonah and Joseph. Ancient Far Travelers and the Power of God, in Ellens, H. al. God's Word for Our World, Volume 2. Theological and Cultural Studies in Honor of Simon John de Vries, 77-81. Morschauser, 2000. What Made Sinuhe Run? Sinuhe's Recent Flight, JARCE 37, 187-98. Parkinson, B. 1997. The Tale of Sinuhe and Other Ancient Egyptian Poems 1940-1640 BC. Oxford. Oxford U. Press. Quirk, Stephen. 2004. Egyptian Literature 1800 BC. Questions and Readings, London, 5870, ISBN 0-9547218-6-1. Tobin, A. 1995. The Secret of Sinuhe, JARCE 32, 161-78.